What is up, you guys? Coming at you again with another video. Before I start the video, I just want to give a shout out to the person that subscribed in the last video. Between this video and the last video, I got an extra subscriber, so I just wanted to give a shout out. Thank you for subscribing, and I hope you're watching this video. And on to the rest of the video. Today we're going to be going over creepy encounter stories. So we're kind of moving away from paranormal stories for today. Not that anything's wrong with that. I just kind of wanted to go into something a little bit different. Let's not waste any more time and get right into it. This first one's titled Attempted Kidnapped in Cancun. This happened last summer, but I've only come to terms with the reality of it. I was on a girls trip with my partner's family when we had decided to visit a shopping center. Like the ones that are outdoor booths, some were just open storefronts. Every employee was yelling and getting in front of us trying to corral us to buy their stuff, but I just wanted a fan. So one of the sisters and I walked less than 50 feet from the store. Our group was caught up in to look around, but everyone was yelling, and that's important. This sister who I love is a passive person that is concerned with being polite. She was struggling to ignore anyone at all. As we walked, a man approached her and successfully captured her attention. At the exact same time, a big crowd came through and mixed with employees and customers. In this crowd, there was a tall man with silver hair and wore a shirt that had a logo of a store on his pocket. Before I knew it, his eyes were locked on my face, and he was moving with purpose directly towards me. He walked towards me like I was the destination, and like he was sure of his actions, no hesitation or thought of his steps. His face was completely straight. It immediately reminded me of the serial killers I've seen described in books. He did not say a single word. He got to me quickly, and he didn't stop to give me personal space, so I had to put my hand out to create physical distance. He was that close to me. It all happened so fast, so I put my hand to him and said, "Get away from me," and jumped a few paces away, trying not to get too far from my friend. This did not deter him. He did the exact same thing again, only this time I was being funneled into a shop by the crowd, along with me running in the opposite direction of him. The opposite direction from him was inside of the shop. Once I was in, the crowd turned into a wall of people at the front with their backs turned towards me. My friend had no idea, and I could see her back too. My instincts fully took over, and I shoved through the wall of people, grabbed my friend, and ran away. What do we think of this? Was this an attempted kidnapping? Because it genuinely scared me so bad. I kept thinking about how my life had never come so close to that kind of danger. Like I had glimpsed into a doorway to hell, knowing I couldn't find the exit if I was taken through it. At the very least, I will say this story is really weird because I've never had that happen to where a person is just trying to bum rush me through a fucking crowd, and they were like really determined to get through that crowd to get to you. So there was no telling what that guy's intentions were. And Mexico is really notorious for human trafficking because of the cartels. So it could have been an attempt to kidnap that girl, sell them off or something. If it's not that, at the very least, like I said, it's a really weird story. Like there's a crowd of people in broad daylight, and this guy had the balls to try to like rush you or whatever he was trying to do to like kidnap or hurt you. Whatever the case is, it's just like it is pretty unsettling. Like shit doesn't have to be paranormal to be unsettling. Like sometimes even just regular out in the fucking open in the middle of the day occurrences like this are worse because there's nothing you can do sometimes. Especially in Mexico, they don't have any Second Amendment rights. So you don't have like a gun, or you can't open carry, concealed carry, or anything like that. So there's barely any means of protection. All you have is the police, but you're in the middle of kind of like a flea market type of setting. I know what they're describing because I'm Mexican, and it's kind of hard to describe. It's almost like a farmer's market type of deal that goes on every day, and people go there, they buy groceries or whatever. Those places can get hectic. Like I've seen it before on TV and stuff, and on videos. Like they can get hectic, in a bad way. It's just busy. It's a market. They don't have they have Walmarts, but not all the people get their groceries through Walmart down there. But I'm kind of going on a tangent. Yeah, it's just crowded, and there's just no telling what that guy was gonna do. So let's move on to the next one. This next one's titled "The Man Who Knew My Name, Address, and My Bedroom." In 2008, I was 16, living in a small town where you see the same faces over and over. One of them was this man, mid-30s, scruffy beard, worn out jacket, someone I'd always assumed was just a local drifter. Then I started noticing him more, leaning against the fence across from the school gates, or walking a little way behind me on my route home, always just far enough for me to second guess myself, but always there. One Saturday afternoon, I was walking into town to meet a mate when I saw him at the bus stop. As I passed, he fell into the step beside me. "All right, Ryan," he said. I froze for a second. I never told him my name. He asked if I still lived up by the church. That was where my street was, but I never mentioned it to him. Then came more questions. "You usually get back from school around 2:30, right? You still play football on Tuesdays? Your mom still work at the post office? Do you love this shit? Are you high right now? Do you ever get nerfed?" Nah, I'm just kidding. It's from Hell Yeah Fucking Right. It's a really old Drake song. I don't know why I just started thinking about that. It's so off topic, but I'm gonna go back to the story. I'm really sorry about that. I couldn't help myself. The way he said it wasn't like casual conversation. It was like he was checking his facts. I told him I had to go and sped up. He just smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'll catch you another time." A few nights later, after football practice, it was dark, and I was walking the quiet route home. From behind me, I heard the same voice, Not many people out tonight. Good night for a walk. He was standing under a streetlight, hands in his pocket, just grinning. And then he said, your bedroom's the one at the back of the house, isn't it? I didn't answer. I just walked as fast as I could without running. I started changing routes, times, and everything. I never saw him again after a couple of weeks, but every time I walk home alone in the dark, I half expect to hear his voice behind me. A few years later, I was flicking through the local newspaper and froze. There was his face staring back at me. The article said, he had been arrested for assaulting an elderly woman in her home. They had a mugshot and it was exactly how I remembered him. Scruffy beard, dead eyes, and that same unsettling grin. After the bus stop encounter, I started thinking, how did the homeless guy figure out so much about the dude that posted this? And I started thinking, it's because they live in such a small town that he could just easily go around asking about the dude that posted the story, because it's a small town. Nobody really thinks much of like, oh well, he's up to no good or whatever, but you never know with anybody. And that's what kind of sucks about small towns, is everyone's a little more trusting than in a city, because they know everybody. Well, not everybody, but they know the majority of people, so they have a better trust and understanding of that person, as opposed to a city. Like, I only really know my immediate neighbors to like the left or right, and one of them I don't really talk to, the other I talk to every once in a while, but other than that, you don't know anybody. In small towns, you for the most part know everybody. So it's kind of a good and bad thing about living in small towns. You think you know the person, but they might not be who they say they are, you know? The guy might be come across as an innocent homeless guy, but he's really not. Obviously not. At the end of the story, it comes out that he assaulted an old lady. But yeah, that guy can just ask around about you and he'll find out a lot. On top of that, you never know who's watching. The guy could be in the bushes, could be out of sight and just spying on you, and that's how he's figuring these things out. You can figure out a lot about a person just asking about them and just following the routine. So that's why when they switched up the routine, the guy stopped seeing the homeless guy, because he got into the habit of like, oh, he goes through here, he goes through there at this time of the day, on this day of the week, you know. But yeah, that's kind of the bad thing about living in a small town, is just people are nosy too. They'll just fucking throw your business out there and they don't really care. So let's move on to the next video. Let's move on to the next story. This next one's titled, she ran into the woods, then two men followed. This happened literally yesterday, and I honestly don't think I fully processed it yet. Me and my friend were both biking home at around 3 a.m. on a dimly lit street next to our house. On one side was forest, pitch black beyond the tree line, and on the other side were a bunch of houses. From far away, we spotted a red car with one broken headlight parked ahead. As soon as we got closer, the car started moving, past us very slowly, then made a U-turn and drove past us again. Even in the dark, it was obvious we were two girls alone at night, so we put some space between us and them. As soon as we got to the sidewalk, we noticed a girl standing partially hidden behind a white truck, watching the same red car. The car was creeping towards her. Then she ran off, running up the sidewalk and turning into a bike path that cuts through the forest. Immediately, two men got out of the car and followed her in, so we decided to follow and try to help that girl. Survival instinct hadn't kicked in yet. I live next to that forest. I know how dark it gets. No one walks that path without a flashlight unless they have a reason, and even then it was 3 in the morning. The slow footsteps, the bucket hat guy, and the way the car disappeared, it all just felt wrong. We reached the path entrance and saw the red car just waiting there. The driver, a guy in a white bucket hat, looked straight at us, then sped away far into the street. The path was pitch black. We walked in, fence on one side, dense forest on the other side. That's when I noticed it. Slow, deliberate footsteps. Keeping pace with us, definitely not an animal, and heavy enough to be a person. We kept walking on until my friend spotted the girl ahead of us. She shined her flashlight and called out, "Hey, are you okay?" The girl looked over her shoulder, stared for a moment with an unreadable, creepy expression, and then took off running deeper into the darkness. At that point, our survival instincts finally kicked in. We turned and sprinted back the way we came, screaming as we ran. We called the police as soon as we got back to the street. Within minutes, 3 police cars arrived. They asked questions, and one ghost car drove down the forest path. About 5 minutes later, they returned and showed us a photo of the girl. The cops said they found her with one man, which made no sense, because less than 10 minutes earlier, we had seen her completely alone and running away. They also said neither of them would identify themselves or explain why they were there. They brushed us off, saying we could go home now. As we walked away, we saw 3 people getting into a police car, which made it even weirder because earlier they said there was only one guy with her. So was there really someone following us in the woods? I keep thinking, what if this was trafficking bait? Maybe the only reason they didn't go after us was because we started screaming. Either way, I can't stop replaying it in my head. Honestly, I think this is a really fucked up story because she keeps mentioning like survival instincts and all that. And yeah, it's good to have that and always have that in the back of your head when you're going into these like unknown situations. But it's kind of fucked up how these people are starting to take advantage of the kindness in people's hearts, because these 2 girls are following this girl, asking if she needs help in the middle of the night. They're walking into the dark woods, and it sounds like somebody was gonna snatch them up, and they're being manipulated, you know, trying to help somebody, and that's just fucked up. I think that's really fucked up how our world has just gotten so corrupt where you even just trying to do the right thing, you're gonna get caught up in a fucked up situation. I definitely think this was some sort of kidnapping attempt and trying to get these girls into like a human trafficking ring. But it's a good thing that one of them finally snapped into it and started thinking like, hey, this isn't right, none of this is adding up. Why is this girl running away from us if she looks like she needs help? And it's fucked up because women will play a part in a kidnapping. Money speaks louder than like morals sometimes, and some women will just say, fuck it, yeah, if the money's right, I'm willing to put these women's lives in danger over mine to get some fucking money. And it's sad, dude. It's really sad. I've heard about women luring other women or younger women into these situations where they get kidnapped and shit, and they're just never seen again. Or I mean, another fucked up situation is they could have gone murdered, you know. It could have been just a pair of fucking psychos, and they're like, hey, let's go kill somebody or some shit, you know. Anything fucked up, like any situation you can think of that could happen at 3 a.m. in the middle of a dark forest, it can happen, you know, and it's fucked up. So, well, I'm glad nothing happened though, and they were able to get out. It's kind of, well, they got caught. I was gonna say it's kind of fucked up. The police didn't ask any more questions, but all three of them got caught. The person following, the girl, and the driver. So that's really good. But sometimes there's not a happy ending, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, let's move on to the next story. This next one's called Walmart Parking Lot. Let's rewind about 9 years back, when I was 19 and still living in a town where I grew up in. It wasn't the worst place in the world, but it had its share of problems. Good neighbors, sure, but some rougher parts too. At that time, the local Walmart hadn't quite slipped into the sketchy category yet, but it was getting close and you could feel it, even if you couldn't explain it. It was a typical summer night, humid, quiet, probably around 11 p.m. Walmart was still open 24 hours back then. Honestly missed that, because sometimes, like, if it's an emergency, like a medical emergency, not anything crazy, you know, but like nosebleed or your stomach hurts or something, you could have gone to Walmart and gotten like anything, like basic stuff. And now you can't even do that. Like, even some pharmacies, I know like CVS and Walgreens, they're not even 24 hours anymore. Like, a select few are in my area, but sometimes they don't even update their Google thing, and they're not even 24 hours. But yeah, I kind of miss 24-hour Walmarts. My buddy, we'll call him Jay, and I were sitting in the middle of the parking lot, surrounded by other parked cars, just hanging out and listening to The Human Condition by John Bellion, talking about life, woman, dreams, the kind of stuff 19-year-old guys talk about when they're convinced they got the world halfway figured out. That's when I noticed her, a woman, mid-40s maybe, walking slowly towards the car. Nothing alarming at first. I assumed she was heading to her own vehicle, but she wasn't. She stopped right at my passenger window, leaned down, and tapped. Tap, tap, tap. Please help me, she said, her voice shaky. I need your help. I cracked the window just enough to hear her over the music. Jay leaned in. What? He asked. My car. It broke down, she said. It's over there. I need help. We looked where she pointed. Around the dark side of the building, near the edge of the lot, barely lit, shadows swallowing everything. I could see the vehicle she was talking about. A van. You know the exact van I'm talking about. Windowless, white, rusted with the side doors, everything the stranger danger PSA always told you to avoid. Still, we were 19, slightly into cars, definitely into the idea of being helpful. Where exactly is your car? I asked again, cautiously. She gestured again. It's just over there, please, I hesitated. Okay, you start walking over there and we'll follow you in the car. I went to lock the doors just in case, but she moved faster. In one fluid motion, she yanked the back door handle and pulled it open. No, she said, climbing into the back seat. Drive over. Jay and I froze. Can you get out of the car? I asked. Yeah, Jay added more firmly. Get out of the car. But she didn't move. No, I need you to drive me. There are guys over there. They're keeping me out. Just drive me to the van. Please, I need you to drive me there. Now, please. Her voice was urgent, but something about it was off. Too desperate, too rehearsed. I slid my hand down beside the seat where I kept the small breaker bar. My heart was pounding. I'm gonna ask you one more time, I said with my low voice. Get out of the car. And then she snapped. I'm not getting out of this fucking car. You said you'd help me. I need you to drive me to that car, please. You promised. Drive over there, now. I looked at Jay. His face was pale. I knew that she wasn't leaving without a scene or worse, so I did the only thing I could think of. I put the car in reverse and drove straight to the front entrance of Walmart. People were still going in and out. Bright lights, cameras, safety. She leaned forward. This isn't where I told you to go. Drive to the van. That slip. Our van. That's when I was done. I threw the car in park, grabbed the breaker bar, jumped out of the car, and screamed, get the fuck out of my car, now. She flinched, looked around, and dozens of eyes were suddenly on us. Without another word, she bolted, ran towards the van. The side door slid open before she got there. She jumped in, and the van peeled out like a bat out of hell. To this day, I don't know what was her endgame, but I know it wasn't good. I was lucky. We were lucky. And now, I conceal carry. That's a story for another time. But let's just say I never want to be that unprepared again. I think this story is a really good example of being aware of your surroundings. Even if you don't agree with carrying a gun, at the very least on your day-to-day, just be aware of who's around you, where you're at, because not everybody is your friend and not everybody needs actual help. And it sucks because a lot of these people seem like they want to help in these stories, like they want to help these strangers, and they're taking it, the strangers are taking advantage of that. So just always keep it in the back of your head. If somebody's approaching you for help and they seem sketchy, it might not be what it seems. But that doesn't mean don't help people. Obviously, you can gauge whether a person is sketchy or not. Sometimes people are good at hiding that. Just keep it in the back of your head when you're trying to help somebody. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. This next one's titled Danger Next Door. My mom still lives in the house I was born and raised in, which is also where I had my creepy encounter. I'm 39 now, and the event I'll be describing occurred when I was 26. I visit my mom at her house often to check in and visit. On Sundays, we cook or bake and chat. On one particular Sunday, my mom mentioned she had borrowed a pan from her next door neighbor, who I'll be referring to as Nora. Nora had been my mom's next door neighbor for as long as I had been alive. Nora lived with her husband in that home up until they got divorced around 2000. My mom was busy trying to prepare a meal, so I offered to take the pan back to Nora. As I approached Nora's house, I noticed her car in the driveway. The back rear tire was flat and the inside of it was a complete disaster. Since her divorce, Nora had become more of a recluse, and I had not actually seen her in about a year, though my mom spoke about interactions she had with her from time to time. I noticed the front window shades were closed as I knocked on her door. I waited a reasonable amount of time before knocking again and ringing the doorbell after getting no answer for the first time. Following the doorbell, I heard something faint coming from the inside of the house. It sounded like a dog whining and then some shuffling, but it sounded far away. I listened for a period of time and knocked again, this time also calling out, "Nora, it's your neighbor. I have your pan." I thought maybe Nora wasn't feeling up talking with anyone, but I also had a really weird feeling as I stood on her front porch. I kept thinking, I heard a weird shuffling inside and had a weird sense that something was on the other side of the door. Getting a little uneasy, I knocked and called out one more time. Nothing. Unsure with what to do, I left the pan on Nora's door and walked away back to my mom's house. Once back inside, I described what happened to my mom and the weird feeling I got. My mom didn't seem concerned and said that Nora would often stay inside her house without talking to anyone for weeks at a time. About 3 hours later, after having finished cooking, my mom and I were in her front yard looking at her garden. She was fussing around and picking at weeds when I heard Nora's garage door open. There was a pretty large tree between my mom's and Nora's property, so I couldn't really get a good view of the door opening. A few minutes later, I saw a dark blue SUV backing out of her driveway, turning in a way that meant it would be driving past my mom's house. I never knew Nora to have an SUV, so I couldn't help but look as the car started driving past my mom's house. I saw the driver's side window was open, and a 30-ish-year-old male was driving. As he drove past, the man stared at my mom and me and appeared to be almost glaring. I asked my mom if she knew who he was. She told me that she didn't know his name, but that he had been staying with Nora for a couple of weeks and that he was kind of weird. She didn't see him glaring because she was messing around with the weeds. Again, I had an unsettled feeling overall, but just figured that Nora wasn't feeling like opening the door that day. But still, if like you have a guest, sometimes they might even like go open the door for the person that for the host, I guess. So it was kind of weird, but I get why the guy didn't answer the door, you know? He's not supposed to be there, obviously. Fast forward about 2 weeks and I got a call from my mom while I was at work. She left a voicemail, and when I heard the message, my stomach dropped. Her voice was shaky, and she told me that Nora had been reported as a missing person by some out-of-state family. I found out later that the local police had enough information for forced entry into her home. Inside, they found evidence to suggest someone had been gravely injured inside. Testing later revealed that blood found in the home belonged to Nora, and according to the police, there was a lot of it. Also missing was Nora's golden retriever, Bo. Through various interviews and bank statements, the police investigation uncovered that the man who had been leaving her house that day had spent tens of thousands of dollars in her savings account. Damn, that's fucked up. Not only do you kill her, you just fucking steal all her money. Goddamn. How much of a fucking piece of shit are you? The guy had allegedly admitted to his wife that he had murdered Nora and hid her body. He was convicted, and part of his plea deal stated that he had to reveal where he buried her, though he still hasn't to this day. The worst part for Nora's family is that this guy was supposed to be in prison when he killed her. He'd somehow been mistakenly released earlier on drug trafficking and possession charges. So what I'm getting is, this guy was supposed to be in jail longer, or he was supposed to be in prison longer than what he actually was, but they let him out early because of some fucking drug trafficking charges and possession. That's fucking stupid. So that's my creepy encounter. I sincerely feel like that creepy fuck was watching me through Nora's peephole as I knocked on her door. I'm pretty sure he was, or at least peeking through a window that you couldn't see or something. Because I mean, most houses have like windows in the front where you can kind of see And I'm more than sure that guy was watching you through those if he wasn't watching through a peephole. I'll never know if she was already dead at that point, but I swear I heard her dog whining inside that day too. It still creeps me the hell out when I think of that day and the way he glared at me when he drove past. What I think is fucked up is Nora, the neighbor, was probably already dead by the time that the OP went to go knock on the door to drop off the pan. But what I think is also more fucked up is the dog was probably still alive. And he didn't do anything at that point when the neighbor was knocking to turn in the pan, right? Because it would have gave him away, like hearing the dog struggle and all that. And the fucked up part is he probably realized, hey, this dog's gonna get me caught up. So he probably killed the fucking dog after the neighbor had knocked and got rid of it. And I mean, because it's a dog, and I mean, it's sad and it's fucked up. Law enforcement isn't really gonna put too much effort in finding the dog's body, but the dog's more than likely also dead, you know. But I've also heard of cases of where people break into other people's houses, kill them, and they stay there with the bodies just there, and they live and go about their day as if the bodies aren't there. And I almost think that's what the guy did for a while, and then when he realized, hey, I'm probably gonna have to get rid of her body, that's when he finally left, because he knew he was gonna get caught up at some point. And what's also even crazier is the mom said that he was going in and out of the house. So Nora could have been dead for even longer than what they thought. She said weeks, so it could have been 2 to 3 weeks, damn near a month. So I don't know how the fuck that guy kept up with it, and I don't know how he had a family apparently, because he had a fucking wife, or I don't know if he just was married, but he had a wife he was also hiding this from. That's fucking insane. I don't know how you just kept going back and forth from your own house to this person's house that you fucking killed and you're just staying in, and not getting questioned from your wife or anything, or drawing attention to yourself until the neighbors actually started paying attention. But yeah, this is a sad, fucked up story, and that was a really close call, honestly. The guy could have flipped the fuck out and tried killing the OP and shit, you know, but nothing happened. And he got caught at least, and hopefully he gets put in prison for fucking life. But yeah, there's no update on this, so I don't think we'll ever know. But yeah, at least they caught him. Well, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was a little bit different from what I usually do, but I liked reading some of these stories. They were pretty interesting, especially the last one. That one was really interesting. So if you like the video, leave a like and comment below if you want anything more like this. I'll make sure to make more videos like this in the future. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.